I believe that Greg Sankey strong-armed the NCAA selection committee, which just happened to be in Nashville where the SEC tournament was, and Greg Sankey made sure that he was on TV. Greg Sankey could, if he wanted to, blow up college athletics, and I'm still not for my buddy Will West. And I think that he said, listen, if we don't get whatever the number was, 2 more teams, 12 to 14, 3 more, 1 more, whatever it was, if my guys don't survive the bubble, then I can do all kinds of mean things to you and your little sport called football. So, Caleb, that assertion strikes you how?
Your assertion actually makes more sense than what I wrote. Your assertion, it still doesn't make sense, and I'm going to break down why, because there's one play on you against that. But
you broke up a little bit. Say that again.
Your assertion makes more sense than what people have been, the real conspiracy people have been claiming, but it still doesn't make sense. I will say your assertion just doesn't make sense, and I'm going to dismantle it.
Okay, here we go.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Thanks, Coop. What down?
Coop here. First down.
First down brought to you by Sports Treasures, carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia, facebook.com, Sports Treasures TM. What do we got, Caleb?
Okay, so the assertion on Twitter right now is that the SEC, with their ESPN tie, it's their contract with ESPN and their exclusivity contract with ESPN is the reason that they got 14 teams in the NCAA tournament. Now, if you believe the ESPN connection is why the SEC got 14 teams in the NCAA tournament, that takes a special kind of stupid.
Well, yeah, because CBS carries it.
Exactly. No, that's going everywhere right now. I want to dismantle that, and I want to dismantle yours. Yours doesn't take a special kind of stupid, Dave. Don't worry, I'm not going to call you that. But like,
I don't understand why anybody even thinks that.
Because people are dumb.
Okay, well,
by the way, the same way there was a belief that like. There's an honest belief that the reason the SEC was so dominant in football was because they were just given slots in the national title game. It's like, but they kept winning them during the BCS era. It wasn't like they were just put in and lost. So, yeah. All right, so first down is the point you just made. The SEC, ESPN doesn't even carry the SEC tournament.
No, that just makes
or
no
the NCAA tournament. Yeah.
No. What do they think Scott Van Pelt's going to talk about it more because he likes college basketball? By the way, that show's unwatchable.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Stanford Steve, I don't give a darn who he picked. Go ahead.
CBS carries it. CBS, by the way, Dave, you ready for this? Is a Big Ten partner. Now, here's where your argument falls by the wayside. CBS is a Big Ten partner. I think you would agree that Big Ten is has the same power to wield over college athletics that the SEC does.
Yes, but my argument would be that the Big Ten doesn't care about basketball nearly as much as the SEC.
I would argue the Big Ten cares even more about basketball.
No, they're funneling their NIL money to football. They're spending more money in NIL than the SEC.
Yeah, but they have more basketball power.
And I think that's going to be a major problem.
Yeah, but they have more basketball blue bloods in the SEC by a large margin. I mean,
how many teams did they have make the tournament with all those blue bloods?
Well, here's the point I'm making, though. One of the teams that got left out is one of their primary blue bloods in basketball. Indiana.
I don't think Tony Petit called and lobbied. I think Greg Sankey did.
I'm sorry. I totally disagree with you on that. If it's
you can't argue with him lobbying. I'm sure he made a phone call. Now,
no, what I'm saying is that like
strong arm would be something else, right?
I'm saying yes, but I'm saying the Big Ten had the same leverage and would have used it for Indiana just as much as Greg Sankey used it for another team. By the way, the one team that
Texas.
No, actually, it would have been Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt would have been the team to back in. They were the last team.
Neither should have gone in. They won a third of their conference games. New rule, by the way, you have to go 500 or better in your conference.
No,
the NCAA tournament.
Texas absolutely belonged. And I'm sorry.
No.
You think Greg Sankey was going to play hardball and strong arm to get Vanderbilt in the NCAA tournament?
I think that he made a phone call. I think it's somewhere in between. I don't think he just totally went laissez-faire, hands off. I think that he made a phone call.
Tony Petit makes a phone call for Indiana. Greg Sankey makes a phone call for Vanderbilt.
See,
who's winning that?
I don't think Tony cares as much as Greg Sankey about basketball.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm sorry.
Here we go. Here we go. Second down.
Coop here. First down.
Oh, sorry.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
Brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Design. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry, a Tennessee tradition. RickTerryJewelry.com. All right, Caleb, what's second down?
Second down. There's only one member of the 12-member selection committee that's from the SEC. And that's Alabama Athletic Director Greg Byrne. Why would now everybody's got this conspiracy about North Carolina getting in the NCAA tournament. By the way, I would agree they probably shouldn't have gotten in.
That's dirty. The way they got in. Bubba Cunningham is the head of the selection.
Yeah, committee. But he's 1/12 of it too. The rest of the committee had to agree. And
you're the head of the committee.
But okay, the head of the committee. What does the head? That's like Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Yeah, you're Chief Justice, but the Associate Justices can rule however they want. And so it's not like you can fire the other committee members. And so, look, I'm sorry. Like, we can have a debate about North Carolina, them getting it wrong, but 1/12 of the committee is made up of somebody from the SEC.
Caleb, come on. You're going. Listen. First of all, he has to be out of the room when they discuss North Carolina, which is just stupid because you can't tell me they're not going to lunch together, dinner together, wine and a steak, all on your fans' dollar. So he's got influence. He could easily sway 2 or 3 cats. And really, that's all it takes because North Carolina was a bubble team. I will just throw this out there and you can rip it up if you want. But I think North Carolina made it because of Bubba. He called Bubba. And I think that Xavier made it to make North Carolina look like they should be in because they've got very similar resumes. Go ahead.
I think North Carolina made it because they're North Carolina, not because of Bubba.
Well,
like that's
they're kind of one and the same to me, but I see where you're going.
Yeah, they made it because they're North Carolina, and you want those type of teams in the tournament. That's just the way things are. The same thing what happened to the Tennessee Lady Vols. They were on the bubble in the NCAA tournament on the women's side. So, okay, I'm just going to say it. There's absolutely no SEC bias from the selection committee. And so for the people, this whole conversation is people are claiming the SEC used its power by its connection to a network that doesn't carry the freaking NCAA tournament.
Okay, well,
get more teams in the NCAA tournament.
Again, I think they use their power to some extent. Whether they strong-armed or not is another argument.
Now, I got a question.
Well, I mean, I don't understand this ESPN tie that you keep going to.
Wait, I got a question for you, though, Dave. Okay, you may think Tony Petitti's not lobbying. Wouldn't CBS lobby? Doesn't CBS have an incentive to have more Big Ten teams in because they carry it? And they didn't, if you're going to do the lobbying and the power and the strong-arming, wouldn't the CBS network strong-arm? And they didn't even, and that didn't work.
But listen, I think that Greg Sankey, in and of himself, regardless of his motivation, is one of the 3 or 4 most powerful people in college athletics?
Yes.
Okay, so I think he makes a phone call.
I don't think that phone call goes anywhere, but that's just me. But
okay, maybe it doesn't. That's up to Bubba to not take that call.
Yes, I think this was completely. Bubba. I think all 14 SEC teams getting in was completely objectively based.
Bubba.
Let's go to third down.
Maze here. Third down.
What's third down, Caleb?
All right, and if I'm throwing it on third down, you are John Chavis because you're going to give me the first down, and I'm going to throw for a touchdown.
Third and Chavis.
Yep. All formulas. Okay, so I just want to point this out. The SEC has 14 teams in. The previous record for most teams from a conference was the Big East in 2011 when they had 11. Every formula you can look at, Dave, favors the SEC getting at least 13 teams in, which would still be the record. Now, let me explain. These aren't biases or anything. They're mathematical formulas. The NCAA tournament's job is to pick the 37 best at-large teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based on that, there were 13 SEC teams among the top 37 at-large teams. Actually, 12, because one of them won the SEC tournament title, Florida. Florida wins the SEC tournament title. 12 more SEC teams were among the top 37 at-large teams among the NCAA net rankings and the ESPN BPI and the KenPom rankings. So where's the bias? Now, the only one that wasn't, and I'm going to bring this up, is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was not. They were significantly below in all of them. But Dave, I got a question for you. If you're the number 1 rated conference in the RPI, the BPI, and the KenPom ratings, don't you earn one team just one extra team getting into the tournament?
Well, see, I think like 4 extra teams got in. I mean,
Who?
to me, if you're not, well, in particular, I'll point out Texas and Vanderbilt. If you're not 500 in your conference, you shouldn't make the NCAA.
If your conference is loaded, I totally disagree. Wait, Texas.
I don't think it's loaded, Caleb.
Dave, the net rankings disagree with you. There was no bias here. Wait.
The net rankings are based mostly off the conference schedule, in which you get a quad win by beating a team within your own conference.
Yes, but there are non-conference games in November and December. If you want to say you think, oh, this is not a fair formula, fine. But what you can't say is it's SEC bias. There is actual data that they go by. Texas is number 39 in the net rankings right now. They absolutely belong in. Arkansas is number 40. No, they belong in. I'm sorry.
What was Texas's record in the SEC?
Texas's record in the SEC. What does that have to do with anything?
Look, because you don't advance in life if you don't win. Brought to you by Double D Piping. We'll get to 4th down.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping, the absolute best in
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Wait, before you hit 4th down, we got to debate Texas, because I'm going to go all in on this.
I'm just going to tell you at 6 and 12, they should not be in. And I'm not.
Okay, who should be in over them? Who should be in over them?
Well, I'm not going to dig into the A10, but
exactly, because everybody's mad about.
I will give you this. It was a bad bubble year. There were not a lot of mid-major teams that I thought pushed the Power 4 or whatever the case may be.
What I'm saying is, Dave, you can't logically say SEC bias got Texas in when every single formula used to rank teams has Texas as one of the top 37 at-large teams.
Again, I'm going to tell you.
Are the formulas biased to the SEC?
The formulas are inaccurate because the formulas put too much weight on the conference schedule.
That's not the debate, though, because the debate is, if you want to say the formula's flawed or the formula's inaccurate, fine. But what you can't say.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, but then say that, but don't say there's SEC bias. They're going by the formula.
I'm not saying there's SEC bias.
See, we're not debating if the SEC had too many teams in. We're debating if there was a conspiracy in favor of the SEC.
Right.
And there wasn't.
I think that here's the conspiracy, if you want to even call it that. I think Greg Sankey probably makes a couple of phone calls. If he doesn't, then he's not a good commissioner.
Well, no, but
I don't think he threatens anybody necessarily, but I will tell you this, given the two possibilities we discussed, which would be he made no phone calls, which you said, or he's strong-armed, I would take strong-armed.
He didn't have to even make a phone call. If he makes no phone calls, 13 SEC teams are in based on the selection committee's been very clear. They're going to rely on the net, and BPI is going to be second, KenPom's going to be third. And Texas was in the top 37 of at-large teams on every single metric. They belong. Now, you can say the formula's flawed, but you can't say there's SEC bias, and that's my argument. There's no conspiracy. Nobody on the selection committee, outside of maybe Greg Byrne, was trying to say, let's try to get an extra SEC team in there. Nobody. That didn't happen.
Caleb, let's get to 4th down, and I would like to remind you that decaf is available.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. 4th down.
All right, 4th down. What is it, Caleb?
If the SEC could strong arm to get teams in, as Dave says, if they could strong arm to get teams in, particularly when they have a partnership with a rival network of the network that carries the NCAA tournament, don't you think they would have been able to strong arm to get an extra team into the college football playoff when the network they're partnered with actually carries the college football playoff? Don't you think at that point they could have strong armed ESPN and the selection committee in the college football playoff to get Alabama in over SMU?
Yeah, they could have.
And guess what? They didn't.
I think they okay. Again, I'm going to tell you that I think it's somewhere in the middle, that a phone call was probably made in that scenario too, but I don't think it's strong arm.
But that's my point. If it's nothing or all, I say nothing because they couldn't get Alabama in over LSU or over SMU. They also couldn't get Tennessee at home against Ohio State when that was the 8-9 matchup. Now, by the way, I think the committee got it right. But if you're going to strong arm for things to be in your favor, why couldn't you strong arm Alabama getting in or Tennessee getting at home against Ohio State in the college football playoff? But somehow you can strong arm, somehow a phone call can make a difference for the NCAA tournament, which doesn't carry, which is not carried on on ESPN. That's when you can make the phone. Do you realize how far this logic falls on its face? This logic like sinks faster than the Titanic when you break it down.
I mean, I could look up things on the internet and dispel them as well.
Like what?
I don't know. Something random like you have.
If you're going to, and I'm going to say this, if you think that the SEC not getting an extra team into the college football playoff is, Dave, I want to say it, verifiable, indisputable, hardcore, conclusive evidence that the SEC can't have influence over teams that get into postseasons, including the NCAA tournament. Yes. The SEC's ties with ESPN, believing that the SEC's connection to ESPN is what got them extra teams in a tournament carried by CBS. If you believe that, your brain is so tiny.
I don't think anybody believes that.
No, that was Dave. Just search, and this is my point. Go to Twitter today. Search SEC 14 ESPN. Just search those three things. Credible accounts.
Okay. I mean, I hadn't even heard that.
No. Credible accounts are saying the only reason the SEC got 14 teams in is because of their contract with ESPN.
That makes no sense.
You know how stupid you have to be to believe that? Can we say that, Dave? Can I say that on the show? Like that's a special kind of dumb.
Well, it doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.